Hi, and welcome to the third episode of Soul Sessions. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that's kind of familiar to, I think, almost any person, and that is imposter syndrome. And I think this especially hits home for me because I feel it all the time, every day, all day. No, not really stopping. Kind of getting better at it, but kind of still this feeling of like, am I enough? Or am I good enough? And, when people constantly tell you basically that you're not, this could be something that's very hard to overcome. And so I just wanted to tell a little bit about my story in grad school about imposter syndrome and how much I really, really hate this. So I think when we're talking about imposter syndrome, it's really important to recognize that as of 2020, approximately 4% of psychologists in the United States were Black. And within this data, the percentage of Black women is even more limited, which is interesting considering that women, generally constitute about 65% of the psychology workforce, and Black women are only a small fraction of that. And when we're thinking about that, I think about now the people that we're interacting with. So that means that almost all the other people we're interacting with do not share the same identity. And in graduate school, that became extremely obvious when, I think I stated before, I'm the only Black student. In my first year, I was the only Black student in my program, and I think the only Black person in the department, which is fucking wild to say if I'm being extremely honest. And that caused an imposter syndrome that was very different for me, of constantly trying to prove that I'm good enough. And I'm not the kind of person to be in competition with others, but I'm constantly in competition with myself. And this really, really sent me kind of on a spiral my first 6 months or so in grad school, because I was trying to be the best, and sometimes that's not really attainable. So in the way that I did that, I joined clubs, I really got involved in the school, only to realize that they could kind of care less about me, and I was doing all this work for nothing almost. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. It still is a hard pill for me to swallow, because I'm kind of just like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I really here? So I just wanted to, kind of share that part of my story. So starting in my fall quarter, like I said before, I realized from the jump that this may not be the place for me, whether that's with the way that I felt in the classroom, sitting in rooms where there was literally nobody that looked like me. And that was very new for me and very hard. Like I said, I've been in white spaces before, but something about this particular space felt just super elitist, super racist, all the everything you could think of. And that was really, really hard. And I think I really experienced my first case of imposter syndrome when I was in my research lab, honestly. Like I said previously, I did in my senior year of college, I did an honors thesis. I went to multiple conferences. I won awards for my presentation and project that was on microaggressions in the classroom. I crafted my own study. I worked really hard on this, and it was probably some of the best written work I've done. So I kind of had a little bit of a background in research and how that kind of goes about. So I was really interested in doing research when I got to grad school, and I joined the lab, and I thought that I would have more opportunities to kind of show my skills. I understand paying my dues and doing some of the brunt work. I get that, but I didn't expect to kind of be someone's assistant or kind of be reduced to very menial tasks. And then when I talk about other things, I was shot down very quickly. And that really, really, really contributed to my imposter syndrome, because I'm kind of just well, I've done all of this already. Why is this not, why aren't they seeing that? Am I not good enough? Am I not, and it kind of goes with the idea am I ever going to be enough? What does it take for me to be what they need me to be, I guess? And this kind of sent me on some real bad anxiety, some real bad kind of depression a little bit, because by this point, I've really built my self-worth in a way around my academic achievements and my professional achievements, and for somebody to kind of really shit on that was hard, like very, very hard. So I was really, really struggling with that. And then I'm sitting in rooms where other people of color kind of are demeaning me as well, and not really helping me or uplifting me in the way that I thought they would. And kind of, every person of color deals with being in white spaces differently. Some people are quiet, some people are loud. It's all about how you want to survive. And this was the first time that I was in a group that really didn't stand up for anything and really just didn't stand in their power or in their values. And it really, really bothered me. It still bothers me, and I still kind of have issues with that. But I've learned to be in my own power and be my own authentic self, to where I can stand up for myself and not need another person. But at the time, I was new to this. I didn't really know how to approach things, and I was looking to these other people for guidance, and they weren't really providing me that. It was honestly quite the opposite. And I really think that really damaged my self-esteem for a little bit. And it's something that I don't wish on another person. Yeah, it's extremely, extremely hard. So, like, beyond the lab stuff, I think as graduate students, you have imposter syndrome all the time, because you're kind of like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, they're just kind of throwing me in, and they're not really giving me any help or guidance. And I don't know, it's just all this doubt. But then I realized I really experienced imposter syndrome differently from my peers that I was talking to. Their feelings of imposter syndrome are more related to sometimes inadequacy or doubt. And I felt mine doubt in a different way. I felt mine were doubt because, like, I felt I'm extremely overqualified sometimes for some things. And sometimes my peers have also said, like, Jess, like, why are you doing this? You are the most qualified person in the room. And I kind of think this continues to perpetuate the idea that, like, you're never going to be good enough. But I was also, kind of, I guess this goes up to, like, my upbringing of, like, in order to have half of what they have, meaning white people, you have to work twice as hard. And I've really, really worked twice as hard. And I'm slowly realizing that, like, still not going to get me anywhere. So in that, I have learned to work, I work hard, but just a little less, because if it's not going to serve me and my mental health, why am I going to kind of continue to do so? And I think it's really hard sometimes for some of my peers in grad school to understand how I feel in those moments. And when somebody says something that might seem like very small to them, or, shoots down my idea, it sometimes feels like a shot to the heart, honestly. It really, especially as a young woman, like, it really, really hurts when the people you thought would be helpful or you're supposed to look up to kind of don't. And they really, really don't help you at all. So imposter syndrome has been rough. I have, like, tons of other examples, but I kind of wanted to talk about what has really helped and hurt in some ways my imposter syndrome. So like I said, I was the only black person in the department up until about 7 months into my year, where they hired a program director who was black. I was so excited. She was a black woman. She's super accomplished. She had these degrees. And, I'm looking back now, I'm kind of looking at it as someone kind of looking at a future version of myself, of, like, if I kind of didn't come to this conclusion in the last year of working twice as hard was still going to give me the same results, that I would still be chasing that like she was. Like, she has 2 PhDs, she has all these degrees, and it's almost like a coping mechanism or protective factor so that they can't tell you you're not enough. So with that, I don't know. And from her, I kind of learned a little bit of what I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be. Now, she is an incredibly amazing woman, super great mentor. She's been helpful in a lot of ways, but I've also learned a lot of things I wouldn't want to be as a Black woman in this space of, you know, she tells me a lot that, like, I remind her of a younger version of her. You know, I'm very outspoken. I get frustrated. I think that irritation shows on my face when it comes to things. And she's always reminding me of, like, well, the professors have the power, or, like, you can't control what other people do, which I get. But the way that she hides behind that really bothers me. Like, there have been some things that have been extremely difficult for me, and I thought she would kind of go back to bat for me, and she really didn't. And that bothered me a lot. Of, you know, she's like, well, you know, that was nice of him to not give you as severe of a punishment, but my thing is, I didn't do said thing. So what does it matter what the fucking punishment is, but rather he attacked my personhood because I called him out on his racist bullshit. Why can't that, like, whose side are you on? Like, what are you trying to preserve right now? And I think in a lot of my conversations with her, she's always telling me to calm down. Mind you, I'm not a super amped up person. Like, this is probably as loud as I'll get. I don't really have too much inflection in my voice. I'm pretty even keel. I know how to control my emotions. I know that there's a time and place for confrontation. But when I'm talking to you and confiding in you, I expect something different. I expect some validation of some of my feelings. I expect some support. And that just never really happens with her. And sadly, because of that and because of her, the way she protects herself in professional spaces is just different for me. And because of that, I have decided more and more to kind of distance myself from her, so I could really, really keep my respect for her and my appreciation of her, because she has been very important to me, but she has also kind of hurt me a lot. And I know that other people have probably had this experience with mentors in the space, and it's such a letdown sometimes when the people that you really want to help you, or, you know, really want to confide in and really support you in spaces that you already don't feel supported, it hurts a lot. And, you know, and for me, I think it was an extra level of hurt, maybe because she was the first Black educator I've had ever, to be honest. And for her not to support me in the way that I needed was just not helpful. And I think she has also noticed that, and, you know, it's just been a real shift in our relationship. Again, still appreciate her, still appreciate everything she's done, and her representation for me, but it kind of shows me that, like, I don't know, there were some other things that she does that, I want to say irritates me, but I'm just kind of like, why the hell are you doing that? Like, when I ask her a question, or, you know, outside of some of the personal stuff I experienced, whether that's academic, just simple advising, and she kind of has to go back to the white person and ask the white woman for approval before getting back to me. And I'm just kind of like, you run the program. Why are you going back to somebody? Like, I don't understand. Then when I would go to, or she would, you know, direct me to the white person. When I go to the white person, she would direct me back to her. I'm like, does anybody have, like, an answer? But now that I'm talking about this and thinking about it, it's more of like her own imposter syndrome of not feeling good enough, or, you know, not feeling like she could make that decision, which sucks. Like, it really sucks that, you know, that far into your career, that you could really still experience that, and it's difficult pill for me to swallow. Really, really difficult. But then I'm in kind of other professional situations where I have Black supervisors, and she is like the complete opposite of this. She is 10 toes down behind me. She's with the shits. I love her attitude. And this could just be like a personality difference. I also think there's kind of a difference regionally as well. Like, my one supervisor is from Chicago, grew up here, down with the shits. And then I have my other supervisor who is from Oklahoma and in the South, and grew up in Arkansas, and probably has like a different experience with racism, and a different experience in how to conduct yourself with that. And just like the whole Southern personalities just might be a little different. But it still doesn't, negate the fact that I feel like you should really support your students, especially if you keep saying that you see yourself in them, because I don't know if I would want to say that to a student if I'm not going to really, really support them in the way that they need. But with that, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit about the emotional impact that imposter syndrome has on me. There are no words. I've struggled with like anxiety and depression since I was a teenager, but graduate school, and particularly this experience at this graduate school, has really made it worse. I started going to therapy twice a week. I started really kind of trying to figure out ways to take care of myself, because I was not doing well. And like I said, I have built, which is not that great to do, that I've learned and I am learning that I've really built my self-worth around my professional and academic achievements as a protective factor, as a whatever. And for the first time, people were questioning that, and that was like ridiculous. I'm like, I'm doing the best. I have like perfect grades. I write great papers. I'm doing everything, and it's still not enough. You still find something to nitpick at. And it really it sent me in a spiral that I don't kind of wish upon anybody. So I went back to therapy. I found a black female therapist, who's really been helpful in helping me explore what self-worth is, and how I could kind of change my viewpoint in relation to my self-respect, of not solely relying on my academic achievements, but being a good human, and how I treat other people, and how I envision myself, how I look at myself. And it's just been incredibly, incredibly eye-opening for me. And I'm not saying that imposter syndrome goes away, but I think I have learned a lot of being my authentic self, and really just not giving a fuck. Like, anybody who knows me knows that I could care less what people think about me at this point. Like, you either like me or you don't, and if you don't like me, that's your problem. What am I going to do with that? And that has helped tremendously. So in my second year of graduate school, I have this attitude of, I really don't care. And not that I don't care about my education or my patient population. I just don't care what you people think about me. What you have done nothing. You have done nothing to show me that, I should care so much about what you think about me. And I think that has really shown in my interactions with people. For example, I'm still involved in school, but kind of more on things that I'm really interested in. So I work with I help run the behavioral health portion of our student clinic. And there are people on my panel that are kind of difficult, and specifically a white woman who really, really tests me. And she really pushes my buttons. But every time she emails me or every time she comes up to me, I am super blunt with her. She'll ask me honestly stupid questions that I've said or repeated, and I just am like, girl, I don't know what to tell you. Either read the fucking email or don't. Figure it out. I'm really, really got to the point where I'm not coddling white people's feelings, or I really don't care what they think about me. She definitely thinks I'm a bitch, because I've wrote her a few emails and have said to her face some things that, aren't mean, but more blunt. And I don't think, based on who my program director is, who is, again, very soft and sweet and docile, that they weren't expecting that at all. Because a lot of these people I interact with, almost feels like their first interaction with a person of color. And for somebody like me who is assertive, kind, but blunt, yeah, they were not expecting that at all. So with that, I kind of just want to talk more about strategies that have really helped me, to combat imposter syndrome. One, going to therapy. Go to therapy. That has been very helpful. Also, finding a therapist that could kind of relate to some of these things, also very helpful. And really leaning into who I am and what I am. and who my people are, and my cultural pride and my identity. I have found solace and safety in being a Black Latina. I have found kind of a sense of home in myself, and this is weird, not a weird, but kind of a weird thing to say. Like when I think of home, I think of like where my family is, but home has slowly become me, and that has been super, super important for my growth, and kind of leaning into the fact that, you know, I might be a little more assertive or have a little more attitude. That doesn't make me an angry Black woman. That doesn't make me like a bad person or a mean person. I just have boundaries, and I won't let people cross them. I respect myself enough to kind of take care of myself in that way, and learn more about, you know, what it means for me to be a Black woman. Because I've been surrounded by, Black Latina specifically, but I've been surrounded by tons of different kinds of people, kinds of women of color, and I've seen the various ways that it's helped and hurt. And I found myself before kind of trying to emulate these other people. And in the last year or so, that's not what I want to do at all. I've really been working hard to find my own version of what it means to be an Afro-Latina, what it means to be a Black woman, what it means to be a Latino woman, what it means to be a woman in general. And I found a lot of my own authenticity in that, and my own style in that. Kind of like a therapy style, but more so just how I carry myself. I know it's different, and that is growth for me. That is major growth for me. The other thing to maybe help with imposter syndrome is looking for like mentors that kind of align more with who you are as a person, and building a support network, because I feel like if you don't have that, you might just feel like shit all the time, to be honest. And now I just said all this shit about mentors who I didn't necessarily agree with their style, mentors who I love their style, and I'm realizing that in saying that, they both have been helpful in different ways, but I have learned from them what I need from each of them. And I think building a network kind of helps with that, because no one person is going to, you know, fit all your needs or all your wants. And I think finding multiple people to kind of work into that and support you is super important. Obviously, for me, a big part of my support network is my family, and listening to my rants and my raves and my opinions and my thoughts and feelings. If they care or not, I don't know, but they listen, and sometimes that's enough for me. So it's just things to kind of think about. The last one that I really, really, really want to highlight is celebrating yourself. Celebrate yourself at every small win, every big win too, because, you know, sometimes getting out of bed is hard, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes, and sometimes that's a small win for me. Sometimes a small win is doing well on a paper, you know, doing good at school, in a therapy setting, see my clients smile. There are just very small things that really help me. The other thing I've kind of been doing a lot too is pouring a lot more into myself. So I've been kind of working out more, which helps with my mental health personally. I've been eating better, which has helped tremendously. I spend more time. When I come home, because of what I do and who I interact with, that my days are very draining. So when I come home, I take like 30 minutes of silence by myself. Whether, like, I don't talk to anybody. Don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't nothing. Just so I could be with myself and kind of recenter myself, so that I'm not only better for me, but also a good person for the people I'm interacting with. Like, what good am I to, like, my friends or a partner if I feel like shit and I can't even listen to them because I'm so lost in my own thoughts? And that has really been helpful. Also, sometimes my drive homes are silent. Don't listen to anything, have no thoughts, and just kind of almost, okay, I won't say I zone out while I drive, but sometimes I definitely blink and I'm home. But it's really helped me a lot. And I think with all that being said, there are so many things about imposter syndrome. It affects us all differently. I think as Black women, there are certain aspects of our identity or how we perceive ourselves that are protective factors. We don't want somebody to find something to pick on. We don't want something for them to take away from us. And I think the one thing that I really learned is that you as you are, however that is you are enough, and your presence, it matters. It's important. And I think that's something that I've really struggled with, but I've also accepted, and that has grown into me being more authentic and me really finding my voice as a woman, as a person. And it's been a very long, shitty journey, but very helpful. So I guess I just want to leave you with this. Your success isn't luck, it's earned. Don't let anyone, not even your inner critic, tell you otherwise.